FNAF's Help Wanted Curse of Dreadbear DLC came out 5.5 years ago, and it teased the next big bad for the FNAF franchise. A young woman slowly being taken over by an AI and being made to do things she doesn't want to do by the consciousness of a deranged serial killer. A new villain with an interesting story, character motivations, a banging ass design, and the potential to be the franchise's most unnerving villain yet. This villain seemed like she would be the driving force for the next few years of FNAF games, and the fans were very excited. So what the hell happened? Alright, let's do some math here. This is Vanny's total screen time in her debut game, FNAF Security Breach, right? And this is Vanny, not her white woman counterpart. This is her screen time in the marketing for that game. Are we noticing a problem here? This one shouldn't be bigger. There are many good villains in media. Here's the things you need for a good villain in gaming. They need to feel like a presence in the game. They need to have a sound motivation to be a villain. And it helps if they're in the game for more than 5 minutes. And there are other things, but those don't matter. Anyway, Vanny doesn't do any of those things. In concept, she should have done all of those things, but they just scrapped all that in exchange for this. And after Security Breach, really nothing changed. She was in one of Hope Wanted 2's endings, but other than that, Vanny herself never really showed up in anything. Her mask did, but the character didn't. For the rest of this video, I want to speculate why they fumbled her as a character so much, and how they can fix that for their future villains, such as the Mimic and just other villains in the franchise past that. Really quick, this is off script, but the rest of the footage here is just going to be random clips from Mark's playthrough, because I literally could not find any parts that she was in throughout the rest of his playthrough, and I don't feel like spending hours looking for like the 3 seconds she's in the game, so that's why you don't really see much of her in the footage. Now, being real, the original plan for Security Breach and the game we actually got are two very different things. As Scott said in his recent interview with Daco,
I think that's really the only example when my idea of how a game was going to go was misaligned with how things were going with Steel Wool, and I had a specific story for this in mind. Okay, for Security Breach, I really did. I had a very specific story in mind, and it is very different than the one that got in the game. And I think a part of that is the way that I conveyed that to Steel Wool, because what I was trying to do was I was trying to tell Steel Wool to do specific things throughout the game, put specific items in specific places, have specific characters do certain things, meanwhile not telling them what the story plot was. Because in my head, I was thinking, okay, when people find this, they will connect this to this to this, and it will all be revealed. And I thought I could do that without telling Steel Wool the story plot. That didn't work out very well, because they got all of these pieces and they thought it was their job to connect them in a way that made sense. And so really what you ended up having were the same pieces, but telling completely different stories.
So pretty much, Scott gave Steel Wool an outline, and Steel Wool filled in the gaps. So this game isn't Scott's vision for it, or Steel Wool's vision for it. It's more an amalgamation of the two, which explains a lot about the game, but it also explains Vanny. Perhaps in Scott's outline he described the character, but not how she was supposed to be implemented into the game, which led to Steelwool not really knowing how to use her, hence her limited screen time. Also, in the same interview, he talked about how Vanny is his favorite character from the Steelwool era of game, but he says that she wasn't utilized to her fullest potential, which contributes to the idea of his vision of the character being more than what we saw. Okay, so I just watched a video that changed my views on Vanny's gameplay involvement in Security Breach originally, and that is the Vanny meter. Now, I don't want to explain what the meter is, but for people who don't know, go watch this video by Alpatar, I think his name is. It goes over Security Breach before its release, and it's a great video. Anyways, I think originally the Vanny meter was supposed to be Vanny's reason to be there, and that being cut led to her lack of screen time, and why she felt like she was supposed to be a bigger presence in the game originally. I watched the video after writing the previous section, but the section still kinda works, but I just wanted to give a little bit of extra context. Let's be completely honest, the Burn Trap ending was originally supposed to be the canon ending of Security Breach, but then Steelwool saw the backlash to it, and in that ending, Vanny rebuilt Afton, and he tried to kill us. And yeah, although that ending was the one that probably made the most sense, it being one of the only 3D rendered endings, sometimes just because it made the most sense to be the canon ending doesn't mean that people will like it being the canon ending, and people really didn't like this ending, so I think they decided to course correct and make a different ending in the game the canon ending. On the topic of the ending changing, the ending that they picked made it to where Vanessa broke free from the Vanny curse, and we have had that beat over our head in the past 2 installments. Like, y'all already made this clear by having normal Vanessa hang out with Gregory in the Brazil ending of Ruin, and assuming this isn't just an illusion, this and a lot of other hints in Ruin shows the canon ending of Security Breach is Princess Quest. Cool. But then, y'all also made the ending for Hope Wanted 2 Vanny destroying Glitch Trap, which symbolizes her breaking free of the Vanny curse. But we literally just did that in the last game! Okay. Anyways, yeah. Vanny's story is over, and they are trying to make sure everyone knows that. This means Vanny, sadly, will never come back. This isn't really a reason for a fumble, but this is just something I thought of, and that being that Vanny wasn't meant to be the new main villain of FNAF, just the main villain of Security Breach, and that would explain why like half of the endings in that game end her character, and the rest don't even include her. I think the character of Vanessa was meant to be a character we see for a few more installments, but I think the Vanny side of her was only meant for Security Breach. We're never seeing Vanny again, which sucks because I really enjoyed the idea of her character. The idea of this more grounded villain who is a corrupt follower was really interesting, and I wanted to see the struggles that character would have faced and the duality of that. But instead we get the Mimic to Steelwool for the future and to keep people from feeling so disappointed by your next antagonists. Just follow through with it, even if people don't like it. Don't immediately backtrack. Just finish that story and move on. Sincerely, to the Redacted Show. So anyways, thanks for watching this. This was a very different video from what I normally make, and I honestly probably said a whole lot of nothing, but I really enjoyed making it, so I'm probably gonna make other videos similar to this in the future. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it anyway. Bye-bye.